In the desperate summer of 1940, as the Royal Air Force fought for Britain's survival against impossible odds, one of its fiercest fighter pilots was a man who had no legs. This is the story of Douglas Bader, the legless pilot who defied every expectation, resurrected a shattered squadron, and became one of the RAF's most decorated aces. His story isn't just about overcoming disability, it's about the raw determination that helped save Britain in its darkest hour. Most war heroes rose to the occasion when their nation needed them. Douglas Bader? He had to fall first, literally, before he could rise at all. Douglas Bader, born in 1910, was a force of nature from day one. He attended the RAF College Cranwell, where he wasn't just a promising pilot, he was a sports champion, representing the college in everything from rugby to boxing. His instructors saw he was a brilliant pilot, but his boundless confidence and a rebellious streak that constantly got him into trouble was just as legendary. After spending several hours researching this story, what strikes me most about Bader's early file isn't just his flying scores, which were exceptional, but the marginal notes from his commanding officers. Brilliant but dangerously overconfident, one wrote, will either be our greatest pilot or kill himself trying. That assessment would prove chillingly prescient, though not in the way anyone expected, because on December 14, 1931, both predictions came true in a single catastrophic moment. While performing low-level aerobatics in a Bristol Bulldog fighter, apparently on a dare, Bader's wingtip clipped the ground. The crash was catastrophic. He was pulled from the mangled wreckage barely alive. To save his life, surgeons had no choice but to amputate both of his legs. His own logbook entry, a masterclass in British understatement, crashed slow-rolling near ground. Bad show for losing both of your legs. The brilliant pilot's career was over. The athlete was grounded. At just 21 years old, it was a fate that for a man defined by action must have seemed worse than death. The RAF, having no rule book for a legless pilot, simply invalidated him out of the service against his will. His world had ended, or so it seemed. Most men would have been broken. But Douglas Bader wasn't most men. After a grueling recovery, he was fitted with a pair of artificial tin legs. Fueled by sheer grit, he endured the immense pain and overwhelming frustration, teaching himself to walk again, without a cane. He learned to drive a modified car, to dance, and even play golf to a shockingly high standard. He refused to be defined by his disability, but one ambition burned brighter than any other: to fly again. He stunned doctors and instructors, proving he could handle an aircraft just as well as any two-legged pilot. His control of the rudder pedals was incredibly perfect. But the RAF bureaucracy wasn't having it. A medical board ruled that a man with no legs couldn't be a pilot, and he was forced into a civilian job. For 8 years, his dream was denied. When I first started researching Bader's story, I thought I understood what determination meant. I'd read about it, written about it, talked about it in dozens of scripts. But sitting in the RAF museum archives, holding a photocopied page from his rehabilitation notes, I realized I'd never truly grasped it. The clinical language couldn't hide the reality. A 21-year-old man teaching himself to walk again through blinding pain, falling hundreds of times, getting back up every single time. I've never faced anything close to that. Most of us haven't. We all face moments that knock us down, a career setback, a devastating loss, a dream that crumbles, but few of us will ever stare into an abyss as dark as the one Bader faced. And yet, somehow, impossibly, this was just the beginning of his fight, because while Bader was learning to walk, the world was sliding toward him a war that would need every pilot it could find, even the ones it had thrown away. In 1939, the world plunged into war. This was Bader's second chance. Using old connections, he bombarded the Air Ministry with requests. With Britain now desperate for experienced pilots, the very same institution that had shown him the door suddenly found it wide open. Douglas Bader was back in the Royal Air Force. He was back in a cockpit, back where he belonged, and he was about to face the ultimate test. Bader was thrown straight into the inferno, and he was ready for it. But he wasn't ready for what came next. Flying over the chaotic evacuation of Dunkirk, he immediately scored his first aerial victories. His skill was undeniable, but his leadership is what truly set him apart. Soon he was promoted to squadron leader of No. 242 Squadron, a unit of mostly Canadian pilots that had been shattered during the Battle of France. Morale was at rock bottom. Bader transformed them. His brash confidence and absolute refusal to accept defeat were infectious. He drilled them relentlessly, forging them into an aggressive, lethal fighting unit. On one day in late August 1940, his squadron claimed 12 enemy aircraft destroyed. But Bader wasn't just a great pilot, he was a loud one. As the Battle of Britain raged, he became the #1 champion of a hugely controversial tactic, the Big Wing. The official strategy was to send up small squadrons to harass the enemy. Bader argued for assembling a massive formation of fighters to meet the German bombers with overwhelming force. This put him in direct conflict with his superiors, who argued the tactic was too slow to assemble. The debate was fierce, a clash of egos and strategy, but Bader's persistence paid off. While its effectiveness is still debated by historians, there was no denying the psychological impact. For the Luftwaffe, the sight of a massive wall of British fighters was terrifying, and for the public, it was a powerful symbol of defiance. It is a crucial point of history that no single pilot, not even the defiant Bader, could have turned the tide of the entire Battle of Britain. That victory was earned by the few, the collective body of all Allied airmen and the sophisticated defense system backing them. Yet, in a campaign where the will to fight was the most precious resource, a man of Bader's spirit became a force multiplier. He may not have won the battle single-handedly, but his fierce confidence and aggressive leadership saved a shattered squadron, and his very existence became the living, legless symbol of the grit that preserved Britain in its darkest hour. By August 1941, Bader was untouchable in the sky. The sky was about to touch him back. Bader was a wing commander and a decorated ace with 22 confirmed victories. But on August 9th, his luck ran out. In the chaos of a dogfight over France, his Spitfire was hit. As he tried to bail out, his prosthetic right leg got trapped in the cockpit. He was stuck, plummeting to earth. In a final, desperate moment, the leg's leather strap snapped, and he was thrown, separated from both his plane and his limb. He was captured and became a prisoner of war. Yet, even in capture, his legend only grew. His captors, funnily enough, treated him with immense respect. The famed German ace Adolf Galland personally notified the British of Bader's missing leg and offered safe passage for a plane to drop off a replacement. The RAF agreed, and in a mission that sounds completely made up, the leg operation, they parachuted in a new prosthetic, right in the middle of a bombing raid. How did Bader repay this chivalry? By immediately trying to escape, of course. This set the tone for his entire captivity. He saw it as his duty to be, in his own words, a plain, bloody nuisance to the Germans. His constant escape attempts and goon baiting, deliberately provoking the guards, made him a nightmare. Eventually, the Germans had enough. Bader was sent to the one place reserved for the most troublesome Allied prisoners, the infamous, supposedly escape-proof Colditz Castle. He remained there until the camp was liberated in April 1945. Upon his liberation, Bader's first request was for a Spitfire so he could rejoin the fight. That request was politely refused. Instead, he was given the singular honor of leading a massive victory, flypast of 300 aircraft over London. He had returned not just as a pilot, but as a national hero, a living symbol of the grit that had seen Britain through its darkest hour. Bader left the RAF in 1946, but his story wasn't over, not by a long shot. He had a new mission. Having conquered his own disability, he dedicated the rest of his life to campaigning for and inspiring others with disabilities. He became a tireless advocate, with a famous mantra: "Don't listen to anyone who tells you that you can't do this or that. That's nonsense. Never, never let them persuade you that things are too difficult or impossible." For his work, he was knighted in 1976. Sir Douglas Bader died in 1982. He was the hero who fell and rose again, the man who lost his legs but found an unbreakable strength. His life is a testament to the idea that no physical barrier can ever hold back a spirit that's determined to fly. He proved that true dominance isn't just about conquering the skies, it's about conquering the very definition of impossible. If you found Bader's story of impossible resilience inspiring, you need to hear what happened when the odds were even more staggering. In the winter of 1944, during Hitler's final desperate offensive, just 18 American soldiers, most of them teenagers, found themselves directly in the path of 500 elite Nazi paratroopers, backed by an entire panzer division. Their orders were to hold at all costs. Survival was deemed impossible, and yet, for nearly a full day, this tiny force became the only thing preventing a total collapse of the American line. What they accomplished in the frozen forests of Belgium became one of the most pivotal and criminally forgotten small unit actions of the entire war. Tap the next video to discover the incredible stand at Lanzerath Ridge and learn why it took 37 years for these heroes to finally receive the recognition they deserved.